Do you know how many NBA players have scored more than 15 points in the fourth quarter of a game at Madison Square Garden? Very few. And do you know how many did it drunk? Just one. This story is so absurd, so bizarre, so twisted that if you told it to me while drunk, I wouldn't believe you. An elite player with a multi-million-dollar contract playing in the mecca of basketball completely hammered after a wild night with women, hookah, and drinks until 6 in the morning. And we're not talking about just anyone here, we're talking about Lou Williams, the legendary sixth man, the guy who came off the bench and lit up the court, a player so talented it practically spilled out of his pockets along with the vodka apparently. This is the story of how Lou Will played drunk in the NBA, how he confessed it without holding back, and how his own coach, far from punishing him, told him to keep playing so he could sweat the alcohol out. A story as shady as it is hilarious, as pathetic as it is legendary. To understand why this story is so twisted, you first have to know who Lou Williams is, because we're not talking about a second-tier player who made it to the NBA by chance. No, Lou Will was and is a living legend of the bench, the absolute king of sixth men. The guy won the Sixth Man of the Year award 3 times, something only he and Jamal Crawford have achieved in all of history. His specialty, coming off the bench when the team needed him most and absolutely killing it. He was like having a human microwave. He'd come in, heat up the game in seconds, and finish you off. But Lou wasn't just about points, he was attitude, charisma, street, and respect. The guy came straight from high school to the NBA with a level of confidence you could see just in the way he walked. He played for teams like the 76ers, Raptors, Lakers, Rockets, Clippers, always leaving his mark, and he wasn't someone who went unnoticed. He was the definition of swag in the NBA. Lou Will was the dude who had 2 girlfriends at the same time and brought them both to games. He was the one who became a meme for going out to eat lemon pepper wings at a strip club during the pandemic. A player as good as unpredictable. So when he publicly admits that he played a game drunk, you don't say no way. What you say is, yeah, sounds like Lou Will. And that's where it all begins. It all started the night before the game. The Clippers had just arrived in New York, and Lou Will decided to go out for a bit to clear his head. Something chill, a hookah lounge, a couple of drinks, then back to the hotel. That was the plan, but of course the plan went to hell. According to his own words, at one point a wave of women came in which he described as a 40-piece. Meaning an obscene number. And that's when Lou lost control. He kept drinking, kept smoking, kept dancing. When he checked the time, they were literally turning the club lights on. The sun was coming up and he was still partying. He left the place completely wasted with just a few hours to sleep before playing at Madison Square Garden with the whole country watching. But instead of backing out, he called on his professional mode and showed up anyway, body wrecked, head in another dimension. And that's where the madness begins, because that wild night didn't just stay as a funny story, it became part of the game. Sunday midday at Madison Square Garden, the cursed time slot for any player coming off a long night. But there was Lou Will, glassy-eyed and in a full-blown alcoholic coma, trying to pretend everything was under control. And the worst part, he had to fake it, because no matter how wrecked he was, he couldn't miss the game. Not in New York, not at the Garden, not against the Knicks. That day, Lou did everything he could to cover up the disaster. He came out to warm up like nothing was wrong, went through his pregame routine, shot after shot, stretching, movements, all on autopilot, but on the inside, according to his own words, he was still drunk. His words, "I'm still drunk, but I put on my serious face." And remember, he came off the bench, he had 8, maybe 10 minutes of grace to try and pull himself together, to sweat out some of the whiskey or at least stop seeing double. But even that wasn't enough. The moment he stepped onto the court, it was obvious. His movements were slow, his face out of it, and his body literally dragging across the floor. The entire Garden was looking at him funny, the team uncomfortable, and him smiling like he was still at the club. He missed shots he'd never missed, not even as a joke, got called for traveling twice in a row, lost the ball like he had butter on his hands, and through it all he kept that little grin like, "Don't ask me anything." But it doesn't end there. Because at one point Lou Will gives up. He made a business decision, as he put it. Either he kept embarrassing himself in front of all of Madison, or he went and told the truth. So he walked over to the bench, stood in front of Doc Rivers, and told him, "No filter? Doc, I'm drunk. I went too hard last night. I'm sorry, I don't think I can keep going." At that point, you'd expect anything. A curse out, a fine, an immediate sub. But what came next was even more unexpected. Doc looked him straight in the eyes, and with the calm of a man who's seen it all, said, "You're gonna play the whole second quarter. I need you to sweat that shit out, because I'm gonna need you in the fourth. Done. Case closed." Instead of punishing him, he left him on the court like it was a live alcohol detox chamber, as if every drop of sweat brought him closer to sobriety. And Lou, obedient, went back in, still kind of stumbling, but under strict orders not to stop. Doc knew what he was doing, because if Lou could make it alive to the fourth quarter, that's when the magic would happen. Lou Will went back on the court with an insane mission: play drunk and not die in the process. And what followed was a blooper reel worthy of a YouTube compilation. He missed threes that didn't even graze the rim, got called for traveling twice in a row, and moved like he had a bag of cement on his back. He played slow, heavy, disconnected, and the most obvious sign was on his face. That knowing smile, the kind someone wears when they know they're wrecked, but still trying to vibe. The fans noticed, his teammates looked at him like, "You good?" And the commentators were starting to wonder if something was off, but the weirdest part of all, no one took him out. He stayed in the game like it was part of some secret plan, a kind of live, high-definition alcohol purge. Lou kept shooting, missing, shooting again, walking around the court like he was counting the tiles on the hardwood. A disaster, but a necessary disaster, because without knowing it, he was setting the stage for something no one saw coming. And suddenly something happened that no one expected. That same Lou Will who'd been missing everything, wandering around aimlessly with the face of an eternal hangover, lit up. He started the fourth quarter like someone had swapped out his soul. He began hitting shots right in defenders' faces, impossible floaters, off-balance threes. Everything he'd missed earlier in the game was now dropping like nothing. You could see him moving with that signature flow, that cocky swagger of someone who knows they're in their zone. The guy was still drenched in sweat with bags under his eyes, probably still smelling like vodka, but he was unstoppable. He scored 15 points in that final quarter, playing a key role in sealing the win for the Clippers. And even though he later exaggerated, saying he dropped 25, the truth is that fourth quarter was legendary. Not because of the number, but because of the context. Because against all logic, a drunk man, according to his own words, it was the first time in his career he felt real fear. He thought that game could ruin him, that the media would find out, that he'd end up on the news, exposed as the player who played drunk at Madison Square Garden. And honestly, it wouldn't have been surprising, because it showed. It wasn't something he could hide with a solid performance. The cameras had caught everything: the face, the sluggishness, the mistakes, the weird smiles, all of it. Lou Will thought that night would haunt him forever, that the party would follow him for the rest of his career, but no, the whole thing flew under the radar. No one said anything officially, he got away with it. And just like that, the story was buried until years later when Lou told it himself, laughing like it was just another funny anecdote. But he knows the truth. That night, he walked right up to the edge of the cliff, and the craziest part, even like that, he won the game. If you thought playing drunk at Madison was the most scandalous moment of Lou Will's career, hold on to your wig. Years later, during the pandemic, Lou was granted permission to temporarily leave the NBA's famous Orlando bubble. Reason? To attend a funeral. All good, total respect up to that point. The problem? That same night he was photographed at a strip club in Atlanta, the legendary Magic City. The excuse? Lou said he had only gone to get some chicken wings, but not just any wings, the lemon pepper wings. So good, according to him, they actually carry his name on the menu. From that moment on, he was forever known as Lemon Pepper Lou. The scandal went viral. He was suspended, fined, but also immortalized. Because if there's one thing Lou Will knows how to do, it's besides coming off the bench and lighting it up, it's getting into trouble with a whole lot of style. Lou Williams wasn't a perfect player. He was something else, something rarer, more unpredictable. A mix of raw talent, street, partying, and clutch. The kind of guy who could drop 15 points in a quarter after a night of madness. The one who got caught up in public messes, but always came out standing. And not because of luck, but because on the court, he always delivered. His career is full of moments that would have buried anyone else, but for him, instead of sinking him, they made him unforgettable. Because Lou Will didn't just play with his body, he played with flow, with instinct, and with a kind of confidence you can't teach. He wasn't the most disciplined or the most proper, but he was one of the most authentic. And that is also part of the game. Drop your thoughts in the comments section. This was Hoop Secrets, and I'll see you next time.